Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
I really am in the Lyle Shields room today.
Wow.
It's very nice in here.
Is this the first time that you're in there for a meeting since
No.
since all this?
No,
No.
I've been in here many times, and also in the room, the Putman room next door, you know, by myself, always by myself, but the room is especially nice right now. They've rearranged all the tables. So it's a great room to be all by yourself in. And I think we have a quorum, but Anne's not here, and I know she is coming.
It's kind of
moving again.
There she is.
I heard you too.
Okay.
Hi, Sue.
My earphone's not working, so I'm gonna go on mute. So you don't hear all the car noise.
I can't hear any car noise right now anyway, Sue, just FYI.
And I just got the message that my internet is not stable. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, you froze up there for a few
Yeah.
seconds.
I mean, it's a problem since this is the machine recording the meeting. So I really need the internet to be solid.
So do you need to go somewhere else in the building, do you think? Or is it a building-wide problem?
I think it's just in this room. I'm not sure what happened. It seems to be okay again, but if I freeze again, maybe let me know.
Okay.
Thank you. Because I can go back to the office where we have our own internet and it's very strong. Thank you for signing in to the chat with your agency affiliation if you have one. It's helpful to us.
Good morning.
Hi, Anne.
Oh, good. You can hear me.
Yes. Hopefully I'm not feeding back or shouting.
No feeding back, no shouting. I'm using my iPad and I don't know exactly where the camera is. It's so little, but I have a hard time getting the iPad so that it looks like I'm looking at you. I am looking at you, but it doesn't look like I'm looking at you. That's a frustrating thing. But the iPad is sitting up on the table, so that's a good thing.
Well, we have a quorum plus one. So Sue
All
Suter
right.
is with us too, but she's had to mute herself because of traffic noise.
All right. Great. Well, shall we start?
Sounds good.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Stephanie, are you there? Can you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Deb Rush,
Here.
Gail Kennedy,
Here.
Ann Robin,
Yes.
Brianna Schuster, Sue Suter.
Here.
Thank you, Sue. All right, the next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as in the document?
So moved.
Second,
I guess we need a voice call. Stephanie, thank you.
Gail Kennedy,
approve,
Ann,
Who was that?
Ann Robin,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Okay. I think that might be everybody. It's a little bit hard to tell and I've lost the video. Can
Yeah.
everybody hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is citizen input, public participation. And I just want to invite people to participate and also to remind people that this is the meeting where we vote on the funding for the next fiscal year. So we want to get to that as quickly as we can. but we also want to hear from people. Is there anybody that needs to say something? Or put it in the chat and we'll take a look at it, or you can speak up later when we do our successes and comments. Okay, I don't hear anybody, so I'm going to just make my own comments very, very quickly. This is, as Lynn says, the most important meeting of the year. I thank everyone for being here, and I thank everyone for their hard work of looking over all of the applications and for the hard work of the people that put the applications in. And I think we have some very, very good applications. I'm very proud of our local organizations for continuing their good work despite the limitations of COVID. The only comment I'm going to make is Lynn and I talked yesterday, and I think we're going to use the categories, but we're not going to vote on them as categories. We're going to vote on each application individually. And in your packet, the summary of those is on page 29. So I'm going to be referring to page 29, and then the previous pages describe the programs. And then I want to remind people that on pages 27 and 28, there are some very important items that we need to vote on. If I forget those, somebody remind me. And those are my comments. So thanks, everyone. Lynn?
So here's the agenda, and I will try to keep up as you're going through using page 29. I will try to keep up with the descriptions that are in the body of that decision memo so that we're all looking at the right program when you're considering it. My only announcement was going to be, I learned yesterday that some board members would much prefer to vote on each program application separately, and that is no sweat. And next year we'll prepare the memo to do that. That's how we used to do it, and it's not a big deal for us. Otherwise, importantly, okay, I'm in the Lal Shields room to bring the meeting into compliance with the emergency provisions of the Open Meetings Act. No one is here to give public input. If they were, there are computers through which they could participate, or they could just jump over and sit at my computer. We have the board packet and an addendum that was posted and emailed to board members. I will put both of those into the chat so that they're available to everyone. These are links to the full board packet and the addendum. And I'll try to be as careful as possible with what I put on the screen and when I put it on the screen. So I'm going to add those to the chat now. And I appreciate people signing in to the chat with their agency affiliation. And that is all I've got. There's there's the board packet link, and then here is the addendum. And I'll explain the purpose of the addendum when we get there. I've got that page ready to share. Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. The next item is approval of the board meeting and study session minutes. And I guess as a point of information, Stephanie, do we need to approve those separately, or can we approve those together?
You can do them together.
Okay, then I would suggest that someone move that we approve those together.
I move that we approve the CCDDB board meeting and study session minutes as presented in the board packet from April 21st, 21 and April 28th, 21 as presented.
I second that.
Any discussion about the minutes? If not, we will thank Stephanie for her preparing the minutes and ask her to give a voice vote for the approval of the minutes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, we're moving right along extremely well. Good work. Expenditure list, page 9. There's not much on the expenditure list this time. Can I get a motion to approve the expenditure list?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? I guess I have a procedural question. Why is there so little on the expenditure list this month?
That is a great question. This is the time of our very lowest cash balances. So we don't make payments in May. We hold them and make a double payment in June.
Thank you for that clarification. Any further discussion? Well, let's have a voice vote.
Deb Rush,
yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. All right, we are ready for the meat of our meeting. Item 10, staff recommendations for fiscal year 22 agency allocations, pages 10 to 29. And I'm going to flip to page 29 for myself so that I can keep track. And we'll take each request individually. And we also have them in the priority categories, which I really appreciate the priority categories, but I also appreciate having them individually. So under priority of self-advocacy, number 1 is the CU Autism Network, which is community outreach programs for a total of $38,000. And I believe that the staff recommended that we do this. Any discussion? Or do we need a motion, Stephanie, for each one of these?
yes.
Okay, I will take a motion.
I'd like to move that we approve CCDDB funding as recommended for the CU Autism Network in the amount of $38,000, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
Is there
I
a
will
second?
second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Can I just ask, I see this here and I see this frequently throughout. A new eligibility questionnaire should be completed prior to the next application cycle. I see that on many of these. I also thought that eligibility questionnaires were something that people did only once.
You
Can
are
you explain?
correct. And I am so sorry. I was supposed to mention that in my comments too. This is what happens when I don't write down what my comments should be. The eligibility questionnaires were completed as long ago as 2011, and they contain inaccurate information at this point. In fact, some of them reference agencies that don't exist anymore, but were, part of mergers or acquisitions. And some of them have inaccurate information because of the way we ask the questions. So we've changed the eligibility questionnaire twice. And so agencies that have been around for a long time have not had an opportunity to answer the questions in the new eligibility questionnaire. And this has led to a lot of problems for us. Like, we discovered a real compliance issue through an audit because someone had filled out the eligibility form incorrectly and probably shouldn't have been funded. So we need to have everybody redo this questionnaire. We have a lot of time for them to do it, but with our improved questions. So it is in almost all of these. I think CU Autism Network is an exception because they've just filled it out within the last 2 years. So it's really important to us because it's very hard to for us to know about compliance issues in advance of the audit or a big problem if we don't have accurate answers there. So thank you for asking, and I'm so sorry I didn't mention it before.
That's fine, Lynn. So just for my clarification, everyone who hasn't done this very recently will be doing this. And this could affect their funding in this funding cycle, depending on what we find.
Nope, we've dug really deep. Everything is good to go. There are two two programs we're not recommending right now. We're recommending that you defer them because there are issues we have to resolve, but, and we'll bring them back to you as decisions later. But otherwise, everything that we're recommending for funding is solidly eligible at this time. But we want to make it easier on everybody next time around. So it'll apply to the next application section or application.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that clarification. I actually had the same question that I asked Lynn yesterday in our little pre-meeting meeting. And thank you for bringing that up, Gail. Are there any further questions about that issue? Because it's going to show up in everyone, and it does show up on the CU Autism Network. So if they're okay, then you can strike that, but we'll leave it there for right now. Any other comments about CU Autism Network? Community outreach programs. Are we ready for a vote? Stephanie, please.
Bill Kennedy,
Approve.
Sue Suter,
Approve.
Deb Rush,
Approve.
Ann Robin,
Approved. Okay, the next item under self-advocacy is the Piatt County Mental Health Center VOC programming support, which is a new application. And we're understanding that it's to assist Champaign County residents with transportation to Piatt County programs. The staff has reviewed this and asked that we defer the $27,000 because of need to clarify or negotiate some issues. Is that fair, Lynn?
Yes, and I think it would probably be appropriate for us just to bring you these decisions at a later meeting.
Okay,
You know, so that, because some of you might not want to fund it, we just need to clarify some things. There were missing forms from the application, stuff like that. So we'll bring it back to you, but the idea here was to hold the money in case you do choose to
Okay.
fund it, because this is meeting a really important
Okay.
gap, and we are really struggling with good ways to meet that
okay.
need.
So we do need a voice vote on this to defer and to hold the funds. Am I right? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Okay. I'll move that we defer, per staff recommendation, the decision on Piatt County Mental Health funding request for $27,000 for VOC programming support as presented.
Do we need to also say to hold that money?
To hold the $27,000.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay,
I will
Is there a
second that motion.
okay. Any further discussion? Are we ready for a vote?
Sue Suter,
We might have lost her.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, yes.
Oh, she's there.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Bill Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. All right, so that one is taken care of. Okay, now we're into the priority of linkage and coordination. And we've got CCRPC, Community Services, decision support for person-centered planning for $311,489. Can I get a motion to approve that one? Anybody there? Can you hear me? Did we lose people?
Oh, no, I'm here. Okay, I'll approve. I'll make a motion I'd like to make a motion to approve CCDD funding as recommended for the CCRPC Community Services Decision Support request in the amount of $311,489.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, I think we'll go to a voice vote. Stephanie?
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, the next one is the Developmental Services Center Service Coordination. $435,858. Lynn is sharing the screen. Do I hear a motion?
I will so move to approve the funding of DSC service coordination in the amount of $435,858.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Stephanie, would you give us a voice vote, please?
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, the next one is also Piatt County Mental Health Center, and it's essentially the same type of program for Champaign County residents, and it's the same argument to defer the funding. The funding is for $34,000. Can I get a motion?
I will move that we defer the Piatt County Mental Health Center CDS program funding at this time.
I'll
Jump
second.
in. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, can we have a voice vote, please?
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, the next one is Rosecrans Central Illinois Coordination of Services between DD and mental illness. And I believe there is a staff recommendation on review of this program. And at the bottom of the recommendation, it says staff recommend that this be a fee-for-service contract. And that would be a negotiable item. So it's a recommendation. My understanding with discussion of Lynn is that it's not an absolute requirement, but it is a recommendation. So Lynn, would you want to clarify that just a little bit as to how we should vote on this?
I guess
Is it a requirement or what?
it is
If we vote for it as is, what are we voting for?
That's a good question. If you vote for it as is, it probably, and Stephanie may back me up on this, you probably are saying it has to be fee for service. So if you vote on it, saying that's like what you just said, vote on it, saying this is a staff recommendation. I don't know, Stephanie, do you have an opinion on this? I feel like when you vote on it as presented in the memorandum, that does turn this recommendation into a requirement, which may not be what you intend. Is that, Stephanie, does that sound accurate?
yeah, I think that is.
Okay, well, it's probably better that it be voted on as a requirement if that's what we're going to say that it is. And there is some logic behind that. So let me get someone move to accept it as is with the staff recommendation, and then we'll have some discussion. Because I think this one does deserve a little bit of discussion, even though it's not a huge amount of money.
I'll I'll make a motion to approve the Rosecrans Central Illinois request for coordination of services for DDMI in the amount of $35,150 as presented in the packet, with the understanding that this contract will move to a fee-for-service model.
I will second that motion.
Okay, now discussion.
Lynn, can you describe to us why this recommendation was made?
Yeah, this is not so much about cost containment, but about when this, Kim, would you do it? I've got a visitor.
Yeah, there has been some history of this position being very difficult for the agency to hire staff for. And so we learned that the previous staff member resigned from their position. And so the concern was that the services wouldn't be provided to the set of clients for this program. We have since learned that a new staff person has been hired and will complete the QIDP training in just a few short, I don't know exactly when. They're working with the RPC ISC program to complete the QIDP training. Sorry, there's a lot going on behind me, so I got a little distracted mid-sentence.
So Kim, does that make this less of a critical issue for us than it was?
I would think so, knowing that a staff person has been hired and knowing that they are eligible to complete the QIDP training, I would think it does.
So our experience with this program, because the board has funded this for many years, they find highly qualified people who do a really good job with this caseload of folks who actually do need some extra case management support. And then when they leave, those people don't do very well. It's really, the cost to the folks on that caseload is high. And so we were concerned about, like, it's not about cost containment, but about just managing the turnover. So, and you know, the best way to keep the person is to pay them more, I think. But, you know, that's a little bit different. That's, the agency has policies regarding their salary categories, and we can't control that. So we can only urge them, we love this position. We think this person does good work, and there've been several people in this position who were all really good. So anyway, so actually,
Okay, then I have a question. How would making it a fee-for-service contract improve anything?
so that you're not paying for months and months of the service not being delivered.
Okay,
And this agency is good at returning excess revenue to us later in those situations, but we don't want it to go unfilled for months is the thing, because people really struggle without it.
so this would be an incentive to
Yeah.
the agency?
And I
This
think
is an incentive to fill the position. Okay.
What Kim has suggested is we don't need this incentive now. But the other thing we can do is if you approve a recommendation of the staff and then we have a contract negotiation and the agency cannot do it the way we're recommending, we can bring things back to you. But I think given what Kim has said, maybe it is better to just take that part out and move this back to grant.
Well,
what's
can
the
we
assurance
get a
that-
staff recommendation then?
Can I just ask one question about moving it back? It's fine if that's what, but there is a significant history of losing clinicians in this program. Is there really assurance that this is going to stick this time? You know, what has changed that makes you all believe that this particular new hire will remain there? I mean, I don't mean to be negative Nelly, but it's kind of the nature of what we're seeing in services.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think we don't do very much fee-for-service contracting, but the one type of service that does well with fee-for-service is case management, because case managers can be doing any number of different activities to support people. So I think that's why this seemed like a good fit to us. Kim, do you want to comment?
I mean, I don't think we have anything to suggest that the turnover for this program wouldn't be the same as every other program that we see a lot of high turnover in at this point. Kathy
Okay.
Kessler just commented in the chat that the services are currently being provided by other staff while the person is being trained. So.
Okay.
Okay, so I need a point of clarification. The staff is here. Staff is Kim and Lynn and other staff, Chris. Is there a staff recommendation for this to be fee for service contract? Because we want to vote on it one way or the other. Do we leave that in? I'm asking for clarification.
I know, I'm thinking about it.
Well, Deb
Okay.
added that to her motion, so,
Right, so then we need to modify
Motion
the
on the
motion
floor.
potentially, correct?
right.
I'm sorry to put you in this position. Things change constantly. They tend to
Okay.
change at the least convenient times. Our concern about this program blows up whenever the credentialed person leaves. So even though they're covering it with other staff and that is the best that they can do, it's still not ideal for the clientele, but they know that. So I'm just, I wasn't expecting to reverse this today, but I think the rationale is there. And I'm kind of looking at Kim because she knows much better than I do.
Yeah, I think if our concern was that there may not have been a staff person in place, which we know that there is, and that person has started, and we don't know whether or not that person could be credentialed, and we learned last night that she has gotten approval with DHS to become a QIDP. So I am fine if we remove the fee for service recommendation.
Thank you, Kim. I will go with Kim's recommendation there. And I'm sorry that it causes you to have to undo a motion.
Well, we're discussing it and, it's point of information and also of some interest as to how these things work. And we want to make things as good as possible for the agency that's doing the service. So that's the goal. Should we change
If
the
you want
motion then?
to take that out, then Deb needs to amend
Okay,
her motion, and then Gail would have to agree to the amendment.
okay. So I'm gonna make a motion to amend my initial motion to approve CCD funding as recommended for Rosecrans Central Illinois Coordination of Services Ask in the amount of $35,150 to remove the requirement that the program move to a fee-for-service model. And therefore approve it as presented without that fee-for-service recommendation.
Is there a second for
Yeah.
the amendment?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay, so is there any further discussion on the amendment now?
I'll only comment that I can see the value in keeping it as fee for service, but of course, I just agreed that we could drop that.
Well, you just seconded the motion. You didn't agree. You seconded the motion so we could discuss it.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. All right. So I think any further discussion? This took a little bit of time, but I think it was probably worthwhile. Are we ready to vote on the amended recommendation? Stephanie, can you do a voice vote, please?
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, next item is priority home life, and is community choices, community living for $201,000. And can I have a motion?
Okay, I'll move that we approve CCD funding as recommended for community choices, community living proposal in the amount of $201,000 as presented in the packet.
I will second that motion.
All right, now discussion.
The only thing I have to say is I'm having technical problems and I would make more first motions and leave and relieve Deb of that if I wasn't having these technical issues.
Well, thank you for hanging in there anyway.
That's okay, Gail. I'm happy to read.
And I thank Deb and Gail for making all the motions.
Any discussion about this program, which is an increase over the previous year, but I think we've discussed it quite a lot in the last two meetings. Any further discussion? Are we ready for a vote?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's have a voice vote, please.
Gail Kennedy,
Approve.
Sue Sitter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, now Developmental Services Center, Community Living, $456,040.
I'll move to approve CCD funding as recommended for DSC's community living program, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I will second that motion.
You two are doing a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Okay, let's have a voice vote, please.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Sitter,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes. All right, now we have priority personal life and resilience, Developmental Services Center, clinical services, $174,000. Motion?
I move to approve CCD funding as recommended for Developmental Services Center's clinical services program in the amount of $174,000, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? Shall we go to a voice vote, please?
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Sitter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. And our next one is also Developmental Services Center, Individual and Family Support, $429,058.
I move to approve DSC's individual and family support program funding as presented in the memorandum, subject to the caveats listed.
Second.
Any discussion? I think we're ready for a voice vote.
Sue Sitter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, the next one is PACE, Consumer Control and Personal Support, $24,267.
Motion to approve CCD funding as recommended for PACE Consumer Control and Personal Support Program in the amount of $24,267, subject to the caveats as presented in the memo.
Second.
Any discussion? Stephanie, would you do a voice vote, please?
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, the next priority is work life. And the first program is Community Choices, Customized Employment, $201,000.
I move to approve CCD funding as recommended for Community Choices Customized Employment Program in the amount of $201,000, subject to the caveats as presented in the packet.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question and a clarification. Those numbers are exactly the same between customized employment and community living. That is correct. I don't have what we talked about last week. That just struck me that those numbers were exactly the same, 201,000 for both of those programs.
So if Kim can check and confirm, I'm not at the desk, so I can't look at the actual applications. Just to make sure that we haven't, because thank you for noticing that. That's exactly the kind of thing that happens when, you know, when.
I'm almost positive that that is 100% correct, but I will jump in the system to make sure that I'm not remembering wrong. Give me 1 sec.
Okay.
And then we have a,
Rebecca just put in chat something.
she says it is the same. Thank you, Becca.
Right.
Thanks, Becca.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, Becca, that looks a little bit interesting. And we appreciate your confirming that that is correct. And I hadn't noticed that, so good job, Gail. Any other discussion? I think we're ready for a voice vote.
Gail Kennedy,
Approve.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Next item is Developmental Services Center Community Employment, $361,370.
Okay, I'll move to approve CCD funding as recommended for Developmental Services Center's Community Employment Program in the amount of $361,370, subject to the caveats as presented in the memo.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? Stephanie, would you do a voice vote, please?
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. And the other is a coordinated program between Developmental Services Center and Community Choices Employment First for $80,000.
I'll move to approve CCD funding as recommended for DSC and Community Choices joint application for Employment First services in the amount of $80,000, subject to the caveats presented in the memo.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
And can you hear me?
Yes.
The only thing I would add is I like the staff recommendation that we look at how many people are getting employed and at what businesses. I just want to say I support that.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say it's wonderful to see something in writing where there's collaboration between agencies and organizations. Any further questions or comments? Stephanie, would you do voice vote, please?
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, we have the next priority is community life and relationships. And the first is community choices, self-determination support, $162,000.
I move to approve CCDDB funding as recommended for Developmental Services Center Community First Programming.
Nope.
Oh, pardon me.
I'm
Jumped
sorry.
the line. I jumped the
You
line.
jumped.
Pardon me. Community Choices Incorporated Self-Determination Support Program in the amount of $162,000, subject to the caveats as presented in the memo.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, voice vote, please.
Stu Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay. Now we're doing Developmental Services
Okay.
Center Community First. Are you ready to do a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve CCDDB funding as recommended for Developmental Services Centers Community First Program in the amount of $847,659, subject to the caveats as presented in the memorandum.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Stephanie, would you do voice vote, please?
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Stu Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, moving along. We've also got Developmental Services Center Connections.
Okay, I make a motion to approve CCDDB funding as recommended for Developmental Services Centers Connections Program in the amount of $85,000.
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
Just a comment.
Steph?
This is a
Yeah.
program, this is the CROW program, right? And I'm just wondering about if there might be any positive benefit to maybe combining that program with the Community First program. It seems to me that there's considerable overlap in the type of community outreach, community services that both of those programs combine. Just something maybe to look at in the future.
So your comment is really for more future rather than for
Right.
this meeting? Okay,
Something maybe for future consideration.
okay. And we can hear from DSC people about that at a future time. Any other comments or questions? Voice vote, Stephanie?
Stu Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next priority is young children and families. And this is funding coming from the Mental Health Board. And I guess I have a point of clarification that I did not do earlier. Do we need to vote on these, Lynn?
Yes.
Okay,
What you're voting on is two things. You're voting to deny funding for the DDB funding for these two applications and to recommend that the Mental Health Board fund them. The Mental Health Board had a study session last week at which they expressed strong support for both of these programs. One has a mental health piece and a DD piece. And both of these are programs that between the two boards you've funded for many years. So I expect that these will be approved next week when they have a similar meeting. If something were to go wrong, we would come back to you in June to talk about that.
okay,
By go wrong, I mean if the Mental Health Board exercises their authority and doesn't want to fund these, then we'll come back to you to discuss.
okay. Now, also a question. The first one, the mental health services, the Mental Health Board reduced the request by about 50%. from what the agency had asked for.
They did last year. So, and what happened was, is that what you're talking about?
Well, I see staff recommendation, deny funding of 326,000, but to fund 122,000.
Well, the mental health board will fund the whole program, but 121,999 is their DD dollars, is from their DD allocation dollars.
Okay, that was not clear to me. So they're going to fund
Yeah.
121,999 for using their DD pot of money, and they'll fund the rest of it using mental health pot of money.
Right. And they,
Okay.
they have some questions about that side of it, but I expect that they will fund it because again, it's
Okay,
with early intervention programs, the value across a lifetime is so strong that, I mean, I can't predict the future. So I imagine they're going to fund the whole thing, but the DD portion of it is what you're telling them.
we're voting on the DD portion of it, which is $121,999.
Thank you.
I'll give them an extra $1 as a donation just to even it out.
I know that's sort of awkward. It's just, it's what happens when like we're looking at the exact percentage that the county has given
Sure.
us for growth. So, okay.
Okay, maybe I should read that motion. Are we ready for me to read that motion? If I can get this one correct, because this is a
Thank you,
complicated.
Deb.
I move to approve the staff recommendation, which is to deny CCDDB funding and endorse CCMHB funding for the Early Head Start program, which is for mental health services using mental health board DD dollars in the amount of $121,999, subject to the caveats as presented in this memo and subject to approval by the CCMHB at their meeting.
Very good. Is there a second? Anybody else there?
Second,
Thank you, Sue. Gail may be having technical difficulties again.
Looks like
Any
it.
further discussion?
I guess I want to be assured that what I am voting for here is not to deny any funding to these programs because I feel that they are incredibly important, or to be approving any reduction of funding by the county, either by us or by the mental health board with either of these programs. Is there anyone who can reassure me of this, pending what the mental health board is going to do?
I can promise you if the mental health board, so there is a strong support for both of these programs on the mental health board, but if for some reason they do not vote to support these, then I will bring you something back in June and we'll figure out what to do about them. Because I will be surprised if that happens, but it could happen. So, and because it's important to the DD board, we'll come back to the DD board with that. If they do deny these two programs, they still have to spend $718,521 on something related to DD. So if I come back to you in June, it would be with some kind of reconfiguration where they want to pay for some other $718,521 of the things you're approving. So we would be sort of untangling actions from today. I don't expect that to happen. That's what we can do if they don't support these fully next week.
Thank you for that clarification, Lynn. Does that help, Gail?
More or less, yes.
And I do appreciate your comments. And I agree with you. I think this is very important. I'm really
Agree
glad
also
we're
that it's
supporting
very
this.
important. And historically, the MHB for years now has really, really understood and the importance too. So the risk is very, very low. Is that correct, Lynn?
That's correct. But if it happens, that's what I'll do.
Okay.
If they choose not to fund some portion of the mental health part of the early Head Start program, all I can do is bring you back that information because you don't really have mental health dollars. What I can do during their meeting next week is tell them that these are recommended with very strong support from you all. Because that does mean something. That's, staff recommendations are whatever, but another board recommending, that's a big deal. So.
And that is in our, what Deb put in her movement, is that we are recommending that they fund this. Do I remember this correctly, Deb?
Yes, yes. I think I said, which is to deny CCDDB funding and endorse MHB funding.
Right, and we need 3 votes to get this approved. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are-
No further questions.
Thank you. Are we ready for a voice vote on this? Stephanie?
Gail Kennedy,
Approve.
Sue Suter,
Strongly approve.
Deb Rush,
Approve.
Ian Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next one is a similar item with probably the same clarification. This is mental health for DD money for family development with the Developmental Services Center. Can I hear a motion?
I move to approve the staff recommendation, which is to deny CCD funding and endorse CCMHB funding for Developmental Services Center's application for Family Development Program in the amount of $596,522, subject to the caveats as presented in the memo and approval by the CCMHB at their meeting.
Second.
Any comments? Well, I have a comment. I did notice that this is recommended for a 2-year contract. And we haven't been doing 2-year contracts. Mental Health Board has been doing 2-year contracts. And I can't remember if was the Head Start one also a 2-year contract recommendation or just this one? Nope, just this one. So I just wanted to note that. I think that is actually a good thing, but it's just a little bit different.
So this is I'm sorry, can I speak out of turn? I'm sorry.
Of course, Lynn, you're recognized.
Well, this 2-year term, this is one of okay, so the Mental Health Board likes it so much that when they reviewed this program, they said, can we lock it down for 2 years? So that's, we'll offer that. If the agency says, no, thank you, we don't want the 2-year term, they can, that's part of the contract negotiation and we would do a 1-year contract. But it's just interesting because that's sort of evidence. The reason that it is not, the Head Start one is not recommended for a 2-year term is that there is a potential great deal of new funding through Head Start. And we don't know yet if that funding would cover these services, which Head Start has never covered. But the new federal funding comes in with sort of an acknowledgement of mental health needs and developmental disabilities. So we're waiting to see. And that for that reason, they did not want to do a 2-year contract with that one.
Thank you for that clarification. That was really very helpful. Any further discussion? I think we're ready for a voice vote, Stephanie. Are you there? Did we lose Stephanie?
Sorry, Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes,
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, there's the last item on page 29 is the Scylla facilities amount for fiscal year 2022. Annual contribution.
I move that we go ahead and fund the Scylla annual contribution at the amount of $50,000. I move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Stephanie, thank you.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes,
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, that takes care of page 29, and I'm going to go back to page 27. We've got 3 motions starting at the bottom of page 27 and extending to page 28. The first is a motion to authorize the executive director to conduct contract negotiations as specified in this memorandum. And I need a motion.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? Let's have a voice vote.
Gail Kennedy,
yes,
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes. Okay, the next is the motion to authorize the executive director to implement contract maximum reductions as described in the special notification concerning fiscal year 2022 award section of this memorandum.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? We're missing our accountant in this discussion.
She did ask about this yesterday, just about our experience with this. And unfortunately, we did have an experience with this maybe 2009, and then a couple years later, and we handled it in 2 different ways. I don't expect this will be a problem this year, but we weren't expecting it in 2009 either. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to just give us a little clarification about what it is we're actually voting on? I mean,
This
authorizing, yeah.
It's on page 18 is the description of why, and I can put that on the screen if you prefer. It's the background for why this is important.
Okay.
We don't know, well, and that's actually also earlier in the memo, we don't know what you're actually going to receive during 2022 until June of 2022. We don't know what you're going to receive this year until, June. So, and we don't know exactly. So there is a good chance when you're making a decision this far in advance of needing the money that we will overshoot. But I think that this year we're pretty solid. The deputy chair of finance at the county is very conservative in her initial estimates, which has helped me. And I'm also a conservative budgeter, as is Chris Wilson. So we have this, each year we seem to be under budgeting just enough that we're not putting the board in the kind of financial risk. There was one year that wasn't true because the collection was so late. We did run out of money, but this is more about when we see that the money coming in is not going to support the obligations, we could, a popular idea is reduce everything by 5%, but that's very hard on smaller programs. Like a 5% reduction in the CU Autism Network is going to cut into money they need to get their compilation done. So we might be more surgical than that. And what we did in 2009 was the agencies offered some programs which they felt were easier to eliminate than others. And that's how we ended up doing contract reductions. I really hate this and I hope we never have to do it again.
But we're authorizing you to do it if it's necessary.
Yeah, and we would not do it without discussion with the board, but it's in
Okay.
the contract. We want to be able to put this in the contract so that there's acknowledgement that we're funding based on money we don't have in the bank yet.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That is helpful. I did read it, but I've slept since then, and it's good to get that clarification. Any further discussion? Okay, voice vote. Stephanie, please.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes,
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, and there's one more motion, which is also to authorize the executive director to include all fiscal year or PY, what is PY? I was saying fiscal year 2022 contracts, the COVID-19 special provision described in the special notifications concerning PY 2022 awards section of this memorandum.
so moved.
Second.
Lynn, can you clarify this too, please?
This is, so last year we added this to PY22 contract or PY21 contracts because we expected that agencies' services were going to be affected by COVID, like that, especially in-person services would be potentially, less staff costs and more equipment costs or something like that. But also some agencies were getting PPP loans or emergency relief to purchase equipment. So we couldn't really predict accurately. Then we asked in the applications that agencies address the impact of COVID and how they would respond in a similar situation. And I think because we're still in the situation, and we were when they submitted the applications, it was hard to do this. So what this provision does is calls for the agencies can request a change that, that we make a change during the middle of the term in what the services are going to look like because of pandemic. And that
Okay.
we would then bring it to you for approval. And you did
Okay.
that in the winter with the little parent support networks wanted to change their holiday celebration. And so you did a couple then. And I think
Right.
since then we're just watching underutilization. So that's different from a shift in services. And with
Okay.
underutilization, we all normally handle that by just return of excess revenue.
Thank you for that clarification. Do we have a motion on the board or can I entertain a motion?
There is
I
a,
think- Is there a motion?
Yes,
Deb.
Okay,
made
any
it.
further discussion? All right, let's have a voice vote, please.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
yes,
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right. Well, I want to congratulate people for doing that. We did all of that in about 1 hour. So that was a lot of work. That's the meat of our year's work. I think it was because we had very good discussion in the last 2 meetings and people really did their homework. And thank you to the agencies for all of your information. So that's it for new business item A. Now we've got item B, which is the CCDDB funding guidelines, which are pages 30 through 47 in the packet, but that also is the revised that was sent to us separately. Lynn, do you want to just elucidate that for us, which one we're looking at?
So what I have on the screen is the decision memo, and it identifies all of the changes that were in the first revised guidelines, which are in your board packet. Then when the mental health board is considering the same kind of changes, some of the things that I noticed were like updates that should have been made a long time ago, like it's not the County Care for Persons with Developmental Disabilities Act anymore. So like little changes like that needed to be made. We had never put in a requirement for agency CLC plans, even though you've been requiring them for 20 years, something like that. So some of them are just getting caught up. The meat of them is about, here's something, the DD board, and this was at Ann Robbins' suggestion when she was on the mental health board, was that the mental health board be informed of all contract amendments, whether they were ones that we could manage without board approval or not, that the board at least be informed of everything. You do get that information through the staff reports, but we decided to put this into the DD board funding guidelines so that it's, that we don't lose track of that as a requirement. Then the meat of these are about changes regarding the audits, compilations, and financial reviews. We've discovered that the agencies are having to spend a lot more than they can charge to the contracts on these products. We also are still having trouble getting them by the deadline. So we thought, okay, we'll change the deadline. Moving the deadline out to the end of the year gives everyone 6 months to get their audit compilation or review done and submitted to us. And hopefully these will be sufficient amounts of money to cover the cost of those products. So before I go to there's a final set of changes that are a little bit different, but during the discussion of this with the mental health board, one of the members is the director of a nonprofit, and he said the problem with the deadline is that there are only a few independent CPA firms who can do these. And so when everybody approaches them at once to get an audit, some audits are going to be late. So we need to, so he said, can we stagger the deadlines? And I could not think of a fair way to do that. So what we would like to do instead, and we added, I'll show you. So in the addendum to this board packet, there is a revised funding guidelines with the potential solution for that problem, that every agency should arrange for their audit or review or compilation prior to contracting, so that they've got the full 6 months to work with the auditor, so that we don't have the late ones and they maybe don't have to spend as much money if they're not all rushing to the auditor at the same time. So this is the new change at the bottom of page 13, which was not included in my D memo or in the first version. It's highlighted in green there.
Yeah, okay.
So then,
So it's the bottom of page 13 of the revised packet that was sent to an email, and it's right here.
I think I can.
So we will be voting on that too.
I think I can share my whole screen to share all of these things here. So we didn't have time to add it to the D memo, but that's an additional change. So then the other changes are, we got a complaint from one of the independent CPA firms, didn't like the name auditor's checklist that we've been using for years. So, and we don't need to make these people unhappy. So we're changing it to financial accountability checklist.
Okay.
And then hopefully that won't, that'll cause peace across the land. We're also adding to that financial accountability checklist a final item that says the accrual method of accounting is in use. That's required and it's consistent with accounting standards, but a lot of people didn't know. So adding it to the checklist helps to clarify that. And here's the language about changing the deadlines. And we also are going to remove extensions of the deadline, because the extensions really are fairly meaningless. We suspend payments after the deadline anyway. So this new scenario is to suspend payments for 3 months. And so that takes you to 9 months after the end of the agency's fiscal year. And if they haven't submitted an audit yet at that point, we would terminate the contract. And then they can, when they're back in compliance, they can be eligible for funding again.
Okay, so on page 30, we've got a decision section. And I think it's clear. So I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the attached draft, a revised Champaign County Developmental Disabilities Board requirement and guidelines for allocation of funds. Upon approval, strike-throughs and highlights will be removed from the final version.
I second that motion.
Okay, is everybody clear on what we're voting on now?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have to modify it to capture that additional change?
Well, I mean, you've got the purpose there. You just didn't get that one as a bullet point. But I think that we're voting on the document that was sent out, the 17-page document. And that's in there on page 13. So I think it's okay.
I second that.
Okay. So any further comments? Stephanie?
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. And I think we know what we voted on now. So that's good. All right. Well, congratulations to everybody for getting this major work done. And I think we are ready to move on to the fun part of the meeting, which is successes and other agency information. Do we have somebody still with us that wants to talk about how what successes they've had in the last month or any other information? Anybody?
Hi, sorry, I lost my little hand raise icon on my Zoom screen, so sorry about that. If nobody, I'm happy to share. So I'm Becca from Community Choices, and I just wanted to take a moment to just let you all know that businesses are hiring, and they're hiring people with disabilities like to a greater extent than I have probably ever seen in my position here. And so that's been really exciting. Every few days, I'm hearing from one of my employment staff saying that people are getting interviews at places that they've really been kind of coveting jobs. People are getting hired. And so far, all of the folks that have been hired are really feeling great in their positions and doing really well. So after the past year and a half, that's been just a really kind of exciting and uplifting kind of shift in things to see, just both for our participants and just as a sort of hopefully a harbinger of some better things to come. So I thought I would share that with you all.
Well, thank you very much for that. And we've been hearing in the news that, you know, some businesses are really having a hard time finding employees. I have a question as your public health person. And I know it's kind of controversial asking people about their vaccination status, but are your people that are getting hired fully vaccinated? Do you think that's part of why they're getting hired and they're feeling better about being in the workplace?
I think that probably has some to do with it. I don't know the vaccination status of everybody that has gotten hired, but you know, when people are sharing with us more than they are not, that they are vaccinated. And we've had additional people sort of say like, hey, I'm ready to start looking again, which I certainly attribute to their own vaccination status as well as kind of things opening up. So I guess I can't say for sure, but I have to imagine that it has a lot to do with it.
Okay, well, it may be controversial to ask people about their vaccination status. It is not controversial to recommend that people get vaccinated. And I'm going to recommend that everybody on this call that's working with clients continue to recommend that people get vaccinated. They can do it for free. Public Health is doing walk-in first vaccinations now every Friday. And there are also multiple sites throughout the community that you can access. including pharmacies.
Absolutely, and we've been encouraging the same and sharing lots of information about opportunities. And I saw yesterday that Uber and Lyft are offering free rides to vaccinations appointments all over the country. So if that's a barrier for people, I know that was an exciting little bit of news to hear too.
That's pretty awesome.
Becca, that's good news. I'm gonna sign off, but on I-74, there are billboards from businesses wanting to hire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen all sorts of businesses all over. People have been very active in their hiring, so it's been great.
That's awesome. Thank you
Patty
so much.
at DSC. In Annette's absence, I'll just say that we're experiencing the same, kind of an unintended consequence of the pandemic is opportunities for people because of so many vacancies, but we're also seeing an increase in available hours and responsibilities and for people that are currently working. So, their pay is increasing and they're learning some new skills and filling some gaps that were otherwise voided. As an agency, I'm sure just like others that are on the call are experiencing significant vacancies and hiring and experiencing, people scheduling interviews and not showing up for them and, working hard to get people interviewed. There's a the Chamber of Commerce for Champaign has a job fair tomorrow on their property where some agencies are represented, and we're really excited to be a part of that in hopes that those that are maybe sketchy about online or not ready to venture into various businesses will show up there, and it takes about 3 minutes to apply. So we definitely are encouraging people for vaccines. I think every time we get an email, we share it with the masses in terms of what availability there is. And Sarah, I think, reported at the last meeting the success that this community living program has had with getting people vaccinated from that program, nearly 100%, and she could chime in if that's the case. But our staff, we still need to encourage. And Anne have even thought about asking if you wanted to do a PSA that we could share with our staff. So that's just one thought we had.
Well, I'd be happy to help.
Okay.
Just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other agency information or successes? Okay, well, thank you for that. That was very encouraging, and it's nice to hear some good news for a change. Old business, agency, third quarter program activity, information, service data charts. Thank you, that's very helpful. I like those. 211 quarterly reports were very interesting. Any comments about any of those? Thank you for including those. And now we've got the schedule and timeline. And I will report that the next meeting in June, I'm not going to be able to participate. I signed up for a week-long bicycle ride, which after I signed up for it, I realized that it was the board meeting, so I apologize about that. But unless something dreadful happens, I'm going to be down in Madison County, Illinois, near Edwardsville, where I graduated from undergraduate school in 1974, riding my bicycle on trails with some other people in an organization called Bike Illinois. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Any other comments about schedules and timeline?
We'll miss you, but enjoy.
Yeah,
Well,
have
thank
fun.
you. Carry
fun.
on. Lynn says you've got a packed agenda, so get some work done. You've done very well. I don't know what we've got left to do because we've done a lot, but I'm sure there's something. CCMHB input.
So they'll
Staff group,
they'll be meeting on May 26th. Enough of them had a conflict that we needed to move the meeting from tonight to next week. But that worked, I think that worked out really well for us as staff. I'm not gonna, we shouldn't schedule around what's convenient for us, but I'm enjoying having, I can spend the rest of the day working on DD stuff. And then next week we'll take on the mental health contracts. So their funding situation is really different from yours. There is a spike in new mental health and addiction treatment needs across the country and in this community. There are higher levels of overdose deaths in this country, and it's too early to talk about suicide rates, but that sometimes gets reported within gun violence statistics. So we'll learn more. So it's, like, yes, the DD board also faces a whole lot of unmet need in this community. But we don't, we've struggled to have agencies who are capable of staying fully staffed to meet all that need. So that's not the situation with the mental health board. They have agencies who've applied for funding for all kinds of, wonderful, like, creative new programs to meet some of the new needs, but they don't have enough money to do all of it. So their board meeting, I think, is going to be a little bit sadder than this one, because they have to say no to so much. And in the face of the new needs, they have to say no. So it's a little different situation, but they'll also consider the revised funding guidelines for the same reasons. And I think they have an annual report that needs to be approved, but we can't do it this month. We're going to move that to June for them. You don't have one of those. So that's good. And yeah, thank you. The June meeting for you is going to be it's going to be internal business, lots of looking at policies and agreements that need to be renewed every once in a while, and looking at budgets. So I think it's very fun, but not as fun as this one.
All right then. Okay, any board announcements? Well, I want to thank everybody for their hard work and participation. Staff, of course, agency staff and supporters, and board members. And if there's no other comments, we will be adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
everybody.
day.
Thank you.